Hi everyone, this is Modern Marketers by Think with Google. I'm Joshua Spanier, VP of Media Lab within Google Marketing. I lead teams around the world who plan, invent, execute, and measure marketing programs on behalf of Google's brands. Each episode, I talk to game-changing marketers and founders who are delivering modern marketing today. I'm here with William White, Chief Marketing Officer at Walmart. Also joining me today as co-host is my colleague and Global Senior Marketing Director at Google, Bethany Poole. Let's dive right in. We're excited to talk with you, William. Walmart is just a remarkable company. Tell us a little about your journey to get to Walmart, where you've been, what you've been doing, and the Walmart role.
Sure. So I've been in the job here for a little over 4 years. And I entered Walmart right at the start of the pandemic. We could probably spend a whole chapter on that. But the role is really about leading a marketing team that is focused on creating and capturing demand. So when I think about creating and capturing demand, it is what are we doing to drive traffic, both to our site and our store, and how are we driving qualified traffic that comes in and makes a purchase. So that's kind of the core KPI that we look at. Of course, we look at how we're building engagement and loyalty with our customers and our members, and how we're strengthening brand equity on behalf of the Walmart brand. Those are kind of the big buckets of the things that we're focused on day in and day out for the short term and the long term.
Okay, William, let's start off with some rapid fire questions. Let's get you warmed up. Favorite creator on YouTube?
I'll give you two. Kafuzi, who is really a running guru, who is always kind of reviewing the latest both gear and tech in the running world. I'm a big runner, so that's shouldn't be a surprise. But always good to see what the newness is that he's tapping into, whether it's shoe technology or other kind of running tech. There's another guy who I really enjoy following, Devin on Deck. And Devin on Deck is really a men's kind of style fashion. I think he does a really nice job of pairing high-low. He's also a dad, and so there's a lot of fun moments, with his kid in terms of, getting dressed and styling together. He also happens to be on our Walmart Creator platform, which is really exciting. So yeah, those are kind of my go-tos right now.
I'm always impressed by anyone who's written a book or can actually run any length of distance. So what was your last long run?
Well, Sunday I ran 16. This Sunday I'll be doing 23. I'm running the Berlin Marathon in 3.5 weeks. So yeah.
Wow.
I'm really on my last big week of running before the taper, where I start to dial it back. And gosh, I am ready to taper. My left Achilles is really ready for the taper, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm excited for the Berlin Marathon. It'll be my first international race of any distance, and it's the 50th anniversary, so it should be good.
That's awesome. Well, good luck with that. I look forward to seeing your sub 2 hour time. What's the best piece of career advice you've ever got?
This is a really good one. So this Walmart CMO job is my first CMO job, but it's not the first CMO offer that I had. And before I was at Walmart at a previous company, I had an offer to be the CMO of a company that was pretty cool. I think it would have been a good opportunity. And my boss said to me when I told him I was considering it, first of all, he was so incredible just in that moment. But one of the things he said was, William, I have no doubt you are going to be a CMO one day. Make sure when you leave here, you're leaving to something great. And it's a great opportunity, not just the opportunity. And whether it was, CMO or not, I think if anybody at any point in their career, probably thinks about making a move. And I think the best moves that I've made, quote, are probably the moves that I haven't made. And so I think really being thoughtful about not just jumping at the thing, but jumping at the perfect opportunity to really help kind of launch your career and help build capabilities and competencies and all of those types of things is really important. And I think, you work for a really long time. A career is a really long time. It's not, don't be impatient, I think is the ultimate lesson from that advice.
Can you throw some stats at us about the scale or just the proximity of people to Walmart stores in the US and around the world? I just know it's going to be crazy.
Sure. So Walmart's big. We've got about 4,700 stores. We also have a very robust e-com presence as well. Walmart serves about 90% of Americans. 90% of Americans live within 10 miles of a Walmart. We've got about 150 million people coming into our doors each week.
Wow.
We've got 275 million people visiting our site each week. It's a pretty large company that serves our customers and serves our members for all the things that they want and all the things that they need.
So I have a huge soft spot for Walmart, right? I grew up in the UK and I would come out to California to spend time with my fiance. We had to live apart for a while, and my wife now. And I would go to Walmart. And I remember I literally remember the first time I went to Walmart. And I was walking down the very first row, that thing where you have all the deals of the week, where it's sort of, it used to be called Action Alley or something.
Action Alley is a thing for sure.
I remember being there and I was maybe sort of like, I was about 20 years old, 21 years old. And I remember getting giddy at the price of Pringles, right? The Pringles were like 39 cents a tube. And I literally was like, oh my God. And I kind of, it was one of the funniest moments for me ever. And then I spent about 3 hours inside that Walmart and ended up buying pretty much everything that I could buy, even though I was living back in the UK at the time. So I couldn't take it back with me, but it was a really magical shopping experience. And that set me up for life, I guess.
Well, we appreciate that business. I hope you've remained a lifelong customer since then.
There's a Walmart within 10 minutes of me. So
Sure.
Yeah, Bethany, funniest thing you've ever bought at Walmart?
Last week, I was buying birdseed and a baffle for my bird seeder. That was like my bird feeder to keep squirrels off. That was a little, not too odd, but you know.
It's funny you mentioned the bird feeder and bird seed because one of the great items that we've talked about recently is basically a bird feeder camera. So you can be watching. Do you have one?
I have the bird buddy. It was my birthday 2 weeks ago. But the whole key is that, and I'm getting updates now that I'm back in New York City. And I would say 8 out of the 9 videos are of a squirrel. So that's why I go to Walmart, because I have to buy the jalapeno laced birdseed, which used to keep the squirrels away, but the squirrels have decided they don't care and they'll just still hang out in the bird feeder and get photo shots.
That sounds like quite a delicacy for the wildlife in your backyard.
So we here at Google, we have Google Search, which has always been this brilliant, intent signal. And one of the questions we always get is, can we see what's coming by what people are searching? I would imagine, William, that across Walmart, in terms of what people are starting to buy, you get really interesting data and insights in things which are still blowing up, and like the Bird Buddy camera or whatever it may be.
Well, certainly, just given some of the stats of the size of Walmart that we talked about earlier, we've got a lot of great signal coming in from customers as far as, what people are buying and how that might depend, vary regionally and that sort of thing. So I do think that we are a place to certainly see trends, not just in merchandise, but see trends from an economic standpoint of what's happening, how customers are feeling. Our customer insights and strategy team sits within my team. And I think that's just such a valuable resource for our organization to tap into just the general state of the U.S. consumer. And that's something that we report on internally on a monthly and quarterly basis that really helps guide us in terms of what we're seeing from our customers and, broadly within the U.S. Of course, we also rely on other places for signal as well and trends and that sort of thing. And so obviously, Google is a great partner to help us in that regard. But we want to make sure that we're picking up all of the signals where we can to really make sure that we're positioning ourselves to be able to serve our customers and members in the best way possible with what they're looking for.
So fascinating. Your insights team reports into you and you sort of share across the company. The sort of distinction between a sort of a longitudinal insight, which might be, for example, I have read that a lot of mothers or people who run the household don't love the Christmas holidays because it's a massive amount of work. And every year the burden falls on them and people don't realize it. The magical time of the year actually sucks for a lot of people who have to make it magical. It's kind of like a longitudinal insight which sort of seems to every year versus something which is more short term around, okay, what's the latest hair color that people are buying, and it's leading to a resurgence in short-term sort of thing. And it's such a fascinating area for insights to unpack. How do you guys think about that? And am I just barking up the wrong tree here?
No, I think that is an important distinction, and it speaks to one, how do we make sure an organization as big as ours can be nimble and agile to respond into what I would call more sales trends that are kind of quick hitting, and how do we make sure that we adapt? And you think of the big supply chain challenges of just making sure how we have hot items in the right places at the right times. And that's, a very important part of our business to make sure that we are driving sales in the short term. But of course, we want to make sure that we are really in tune with how our customers are thinking and feeling, not just in the moment, but what, making sure that we're a season or two ahead. And I think kind of tapping into broader sentiment, also tapping into kind of broader human and cultural trends is really important for a retailer who's trying to serve everyone and make sure that we're showing up in a way, not just with the assortment that we sell, but in terms of how we position ourselves and how we make sure that we are part of the cultural fabric of our customers' lives.
So we struggle with this issue of the short term versus sort of long term, and insights in some ways becomes almost a dirty word, because what's really an insight? That, hey, young people like going to the movies and going on dates and eating.
Well, I think anyone in marketing needs to be a student of insights. So yeah, I think I've got a couple decades of tapping into human and cultural truths for sure. It takes a little bit more digging and a little bit more unraveling to ultimately get to what is truly insightful that you can tap into. And I think if done right, true insight is a competitive advantage. And so organizations that are able to really dig in and kind of get to the crux of what's driving behavior or sentiment are the ones that can position themselves and react in important ways to really help serve the customers that they're trying to reach in compelling ways.
Just thinking about how the world of insights and data collection and just what signal has changed over the last sort of 20 years, and where do you turn to now for more current or new data sources versus maybe where we were 15 years ago? Any thoughts?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to rattle off the full list. My team puts together a State of the U.S. Consumer brief, if you will, on a monthly and quarterly basis. And they're combing through usually 20 or so different sources. I'm sure somebody on my team would listen to that and say, but it's more than 20. But, they tap into a number of different places. Obviously, we have our own rich data, but they're looking at third-party data points as well and kind of triangulating between all of these sources to really get at the root of what's the customer feeling, what's the sentiment, how are people kind of reacting to the macroeconomic things that are happening in their lives and that they feel at a micro level. And so, I don't think there's any one silver bullet to rely on. I think it is combing through a number of sources such that you can start to answer that question of why beyond just what is the data point.
One of the challenges I think large brands and marketers face is when you appeal to everyone, it can get very generic very quickly. And I was just interested in how you think about that. You have so many customers. Walmart is for everyone. You sell everything to all of them. What does that mean for how you approach marketing and how you think about either segmenting your audiences or positioning this brand, which is so broad, but needs to feel something for everyone as well, right?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think on the kind of the macro and thinking about the brand, we certainly always look back to our purpose and values as a guide. And I think that is something that is universal. There's a universal truth to what we provide in terms of helping people save money and live better, in terms of the values that we have. And I think that leaning into and showing up in a way that someone can feel our purpose and values is going to speak to everyone. And so, kind of at the macro, we think in those terms. We also think about, well, Walmart has everything for everyone. We also have your thing. And, we just talked earlier, Bethany's thing around her bird feeder, her jalapeno bird seed, there's something there that is personal what you're looking for. And I think the opportunities that we have to connect those unique insights that we have about someone and the thing that offers a level of personalization, that we know them and that we can show up and serve that individual, not just everyone, is a really powerful part of how our marketing comes to life. And then, yes, in terms of audience selection and targeting and things like that, yes, we tap into all of the 21st century ways that we can select and cut audiences to speak to different affinity groups about certain things. That's a very powerful, I think, component to how we go to market. But all of those things are still rooted in the macro universal truths about our brand.
Makes sense. Be true to who you are. So I have a very clear sense of what Walmart is and always low prices, and that makes a lot of sense.
There's a mantra I say to the team, and I should give credit where credit's due because I stole this from Mark Mathieu from 20 years ago. But this notion of be it, do it, say it. And I think that oftentimes in different companies and different brands, you try to say something that isn't something you're being and doing, or the organization says, "Oh, we need to tell people about this," and it's like, well, is that really true and authentic to who you are? I mean, it's be it, do it, say it in that order. And I think that from day one at Walmart throughout our history, there have been really core things going back to our purpose and values that haven't wavered. And so I think that for us, being true to those and who we are as an organization and the things that we do, and then saying it, really comes across in a way that's powerful and reinforces the great thing about this brand.
I was really struck this summer past with the Olympics in the past now, but what a great moment the Olympics was, and how it's such a actually very few and far between. And I feel like I saw some Walmart activities around the Olympics, but it just seems like it is possible to have these mega events which speak to mega audiences, whether you're a brand or social, culturally. Back to school is probably one of them as well. It's just sort of universally understood and a place to activate and build around. And it's exciting to me that there are these large cultural moments that we can all tap into and sort of build common community across audiences.
The Olympics were, I think, very big and powerful this year. Live sports is certainly a part of our media buys. It's a very important component to how we show up because we know there are great audiences that are there. You referenced back to school, seasonal moments where everyone is kind of going through similar types of, needs and wants and desires and how they show up seasonally are also moments that are really big and powerful for us as a retailer and as a brand, because obviously we can serve all the needs someone is looking for in those moments. But also it's, great opportunity to tap into the universal truth of what everyone desires around a back to school season or a holiday season or the 4th of July or that type of thing. So seasonal strategy is a really big part of what we do.
William, I love your motto. I got to ask you about AI and the hype, and also thinking about, Josh talked about all of the different consumers. Everybody goes to Walmart for different things. You know what the consumer trends are. You know a lot of things that are happening. We're thinking a lot internally about how do we harness AI to be more responsive, both to find the insights, but also to deploy more quickly from a creative perspective. Would love your perspective on the current AI hype. And how much is hype, in your opinion? What's the real opportunity? And what are the watch-outs?
Doug McMillon, our CEO, says, think about AI today versus the future. Like AI will be at its worst today than at any moment in future history. Like it will continue to get better and better and more powerful. And I think it is quite meaningful in a number of ways today. There are a whole host of places that we leverage AI across our company in different functions. Specifically within marketing, there are a number of places where AI comes into play. I mean, a few that I would really note that really drive a lot of great action for us are one, and just how we think about our bidding and budget pacing and performance marketing. That's certainly a big thing where we are leveraging machine learning. When I think about how we build audiences and look at propensity models, AI, machine learning really comes to bear there. You referenced on the creative side, and I think that for us, whether it's content generation or in particular content optimization, AI plays a very powerful tool in allowing us to be really nimble and agile and responsive to what is working and not within the work that we're putting out in the world. And so, I mean, those are three big buckets that are very real, certainly not hype. And I think we'll continue to get better and better as we go into the future.
We're chatting early September. Holidays are just around the corner. Holidays and Walmart are synonymous. So as much as you can say, I'd love to get your perspective on how Walmart approaches the holiday season, how you differentiate yourself as a retailer, as a place to go and just be there for everyone for all the busiest, shoppingest time of the year.
Yeah. So I referenced marathoning earlier. Planning for holiday at a retailer is definitely a marathon. You say we're in September and it's just around the corner. I mean, the team's been planning it really since December 26th of last year. And I'd start by referencing something that you said earlier, just in terms of a time of joy and a time of stress. And that is very much the case, that the holidays, we talk about it as the most wonderful time of year, this joyous time, and it certainly is, but it also drives a tremendous amount of stress for people for a whole host of reasons. And I think of the role that we play within marketing is to help inspire people, help people get excited for the holidays, help foster that browse and discovery and those magical moments, and tapping into all the things that we know about gift giving, where the gift makes the moment and the moment makes the gift. You really want to give a gift that shows that you know the person. And so we're trying to do all the things to inspire and to demonstrate that we've got the great gifts that everyone's looking for. But we've also got to do things that really help lower the stress level. And so from a convenience standpoint and how we're leveraging our full supply chain to get your items wherever you want them, whenever you want them, however you want them delivered or picked up at the store or what have you. That's a really important factor is the level of convenience that we provide. And then in a time of real financial stress for people as well, making sure that we're doing all the things to drive our prices down, have the lowest price on the key items, something our merchant teams work across all year long. And we, as a marketing org, want to make sure people know we've got all those great items at great prices. And so there's a lot in terms of how we want to convey and message to people. From a marketing standpoint, it's also the most cluttered time of year. So the level of spend in Q4 from advertisers is through the roof, and it makes it really challenging to break through. And we are focused on how do we have Walmart break through in a way that requires, I think, consistency about the look and the feel and how our brand shows up across all touch points is really critical, but also making sure that the creative is insightful and drives a level of impact that gets people's attention. We built the first shoppable rom-com. I call that rom-commerce, where we tapped into a number of different insights in terms of, one, people are more and more consuming quote unquote long-term content in quote unquote short-term platforms. We also know holiday rom-coms kind of spike. And so we decided we were going to build our own. We built 23 2 to 3 minute episodes, if you will, where every single item was shoppable. And so, that's something that we're breaking through. There's a power of the idea. It's fully shoppable. Like, it's really kind of touching on, all the things that we were trying to accomplish. And there are a whole host of other things we did last holiday season. Obviously, I can't talk about what we're doing yet for this year, but given it is early September, we're super deep in getting this year's holiday to be amazing and better than last year, because we've got to comp the comp and all of those things. So it's been a long planning season for us. Just before doing this, I reviewed the final kind of media plan for the holiday season and with the team, and I'm really excited. I think Walmart is going to show up in a powerful way across all the functions that we have, but I think the marketing is going to be standout again this year.
I was thinking of something, Josh, you said at the beginning about holiday and how stressful it is, and I'm a mom of 2 children, but now I want to kind of revise my favorite Walmart purchase, because every holiday, not just holidays, but every single thing, you guys have a $2 plastic tablecloth that is always holiday themed. I go in and I do all the things that I need to buy, the must-haves, and my reward to myself is the $2 plastic tablecloth, whether it's Halloween, Christmas, I did it for 4th of July, and it's like kids' table done, and that is my big highlight to myself, my last minute purchase as I walk out the door. And it actually now drives me in.
Bethany, I love that. I do want to encourage you as you think about a reward for yourself.
That's
I
not
agree.
for myself. That's cleaning, William. I don't have to clean. It's perfect. I will say I'm a little bummed because you have the new shoe drops thing today, and I bought shoes for my son last week at Walmart, and I wish I had waited a week for the new,
Hey, well,
so I'll have to buy a second pair. Second pair, it's happening.
Yeah, you can buy another pair. You can indulge beyond the $2 tablecloth.
There's stereos and jewelry and other great stuff at Walmart as well. William, thank you so much for being here today, having this conversation. I really enjoyed it. I like to end each episode hearing 3 cheers, something that you are, or 3 things that you're looking forward to, you're excited about. And it could be professional, personal, but what are your 3 cheers right now?
3 things that I'm looking forward to?
Yep.
Well, I think we've referenced a couple of them already, which are, one, I'm very excited for the Berlin Marathon coming up. It's been a long training cycle, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm also really excited for our holiday marketing that's coming out because I think we've got something pretty standout there. But the last thing I would point to, which we haven't mentioned yet, is we are doing first of its kind thing coming up this fall, a creator upfront. And so if you think about classic kind of upfront in the marketing world, we're doing a creator upfront where we're partnering with Forbes on this, where we're bringing in a whole range of, call it the mass creators to maybe the more niche creators, and really kind of talking about and spending time together on how brands, creators work together, how kind of the whole influencer creator marketing space is operating today, how you can get ahead in the creator economy. And I think it's going to be a fantastic session. It's a couple of days. It's something we've been working with Forbes on for a bit. I think we're doing this in October in LA. And creators are a really big part of our marketing mix right now, something that we've invested a lot of time and energy into and are seeing really positive results in our business from, and something we want to continue to leverage. And I think this is going to be a really fun way to supercharge that even more.
That sounds great. Look forward to my invite in the mail.
Awesome.
Based on this podcast, right? Josh, you're a creator based on the podcast.
That's right. William, thank you so much. A huge thank you to my guest this week, William White. And as always, my colleague, Bethany Poole. If you like this episode, please subscribe to get the latest updates and the next recording as soon as it's ready. We'll see you next time for Modern Marketers by Think with Google.
Thank you for listening to Modern Marketers by Think with Google. Our host is Joshua Spanier. Modern Marketers is brought to you by Google and Attention. The podcast is produced by the Google Ads marketing team and Frankie Guadagnino, Tiffer Boucher, and Emily Behrens for Attention. Our technical producer is Kevin Fisher. Modern Marketers is edited by Sean Colello, and this podcast is mixed and mastered by Andy Inglot. Our theme music is by Jerry Mattei. Thanks for listening.